We're back in a game 3 of Group 2. This is the winners finals going on. So automatic position in the top 4 for the player who decides to win this game. Now spawning in on the western side, playing as the Delhi Sultanate, it is Avely. And who do we have in the east?
In the East, playing in the red. I like to see me some green and red instead of blue and red all the time. I'm down for that. It's Baltune playing the Ottomans, and we have now seen Delhi Sultanate versus Ottomans once again. Is this going to be different than our last meeting between these two civs, or will it be much the same? We'll have to see.
Well, it doesn't look very different. Baltune as the Ottomans going for that military school and going to be able to pump out a spearman. Now, this Delhi spawn actually looks kind of bad for Avely, sadly enough. I mean, there's gold mine all the way out in front. He has a deer patch all the way out in front. Berries, again, you guessed it, all the way out in front. So it's going to be very difficult for him to get that secondary food source that the Delhi Sultanate really needs.
Yeah, he does. He's going to struggle to get any sort of extended gather rates here. Yeah, that is a bad spawn. I'm just looking at it, looking for something to say that's nice about it, and then I can't. It's pretty easy to wall. If he wants to wall the back two sides, he can do that, and that's nice and easy. We can say that about this spawn.
Sure. Yeah, we'll give him that. You can wall it. That's pretty good. That's probably better than what I would have came up with. One of the good things for Avely is at the 2-minute mark, it does have a decent amount of sheep. Both of them going one scout kind of helps a little bit. So at least having that food source will stabilize him at least a little bit. Maybe he's able to get some map control and venture out into one of those areas. But lo and behold, first Dark Age Spearman for the Ottomans, for Baltune, matriculating his way west. And that Ottoman scout for Baltune does see that gold mine very up in front. And this could be a similar issue for Avely as he actually moves his gold mining villagers over here probably to get some sheep. And he's going for the Tower of Victory as well. So not much has changed compared to last game.
It was actually very well played. He recognized that his gold was super exposed, and he knows the Ottomans are going to be pushing him fairly quickly. So he throws a couple villagers out over to the gold a lot earlier than you normally would to get to the 200. Immediately pulls them back once he reaches 200 and throws up his age up. So this spearman is going to achieve pretty much nothing. He will very slowly tickle down this mining camp, and that's it. So very very well played from Avely there. Recognize a weakness and counter it very quickly.
And, you know, it's not so much of what it does in the short term. I mean, yeah, Avely becomes, you know, unscathed, making sure no villagers are harmed while going up to feudal age. But being unable to get gold, again, I mean, I'm going to talk like a broken record because we just saw this. It's going to be difficult for him to get scholar production. You know, I mean, you're going to need that little bit of gold supply to do so. And it's going to rely on him either getting a sacred site or having to go to this gold vein all the way down in the south, which is also exposed.
Yeah, but I mean, this isn't too bad for Avely because he's going up with the Tower of Victory, and he knows that he's going to be needing some sort of defenses. Like, you were never going to age up and then immediately produce a scholar. That's just never going to be on the cards for you against the Ottomans. So it's, you know, he can age up, he can start getting into some archers, which only cost food and wood, or some, you know, or anything. All the age 2 units for the for the Delhi are only going to cost food and wood. And you know, if he needs a scholar later, he can always gain control of this gold mine back after he has produced a couple military units. But I mean, like you said, it slows down the production of a scholar very slightly. But you were never going to get a scholar right after age up anyway, because you're not going to be able to do much with it. And even if you can, it you know, you really need military units, not a scholar right after that.
Yeah, you are right. That is quite true. Going for that archery range essentially right off the bat, and I want to take a look at the amount of villagers on each resource. Avely had a lot on wood, making sure he can get that archer range, making sure he can pump out that archer at a really good placement, actually, because that mosque taking that scholar out, making Sanctity just that little bit slower, but being right next to the archery range, making sure he could pop over, get an archer real quick, and then go back into his moss to get Sanctity going. And did have enough wood for a blacksmith to start getting those techs out. So good build from Avely.
Yeah, he's immediately going to throw down a second military production building, a stable going next to that archery range. So he's going to have everything he needs to get himself safely further on into this game. We'll have to rebuild that mining camp. It did go down. A little unfortunate, but as long as he's efficient with his, production of military units. Speaking of efficient production, look at him sticking that scholar into the stable so he can get his horsemen out nice and quick. And yeah, Sanctity's on his way in. He's got the military production beginning. This has all the makings of a successful Delhi opening here. We'll have to see if it will translate into something later on. The Ottomans obviously going to have something to say about that, but I don't think Avely feels badly about the way this early game has gone. I think he's quite happy with this.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and at least it's getting... He's trying to get his feet under him, which it seems like with his scholar he's doing pretty well, maneuvering it in towards of all these buildings, and we saw Isange doing something like that also. Baltune going with that second military school pretty early, and will be able to pump out, hasn't changed it yet, so it's going to be pumping out a spearman initially, but the second military school, or I should say the first one that is produced, moving out and getting some Sipahi now with the military count, actually even by only having one production building and military schools, so it's been rather helpful. Baltune also having his meter with him, as all good Ottoman players do.
One thing to note that is a positive for Avely as far as this map generation goes is that his sacred sites are actually pretty well situated for him. All of them kind of equidistant from him, and none of them really like normally you kind of have like a good one for you, a good one for your opponent, and one in the middle in a lot of these map gens. This one, they're all just kind of in the middle, and all of them are pretty close to him. So if he really chose to, he could go with that classic Delhi move of building a couple more scholars, and then as second that Sanctity drops, he can have all three of them kind of standing on the sacred sites ready to cap. Doesn't look like it's going to happen because he would have had to start gathering gold already, and he hasn't done that. But the map gen didn't prevent him from doing that, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, having all of those sacred sites hit, and you hear that boom, right, one after another, it's so fearful for the other player because they have three different things that they really want to deal with, but can really only deal with one of them. And Sanctity just about to hit for Avely at about the 8-minute mark, just a little bit late because of the inability to produce scholars. But it looks like with that scholar is going to be targeting the south sacred site. Sad for him though, Baltune already has his mass there.
It's true. Guessing correctly, Baltune had no real way of knowing that that's where Avely wanted to go, but he did guess correctly out of the three, and that will mean Avely going to be forced to look elsewhere. I don't think Baltune actually knows that all of Avely's mass is nearby. He might have a suspicion, but most of them were in the stealth forest where they weren't able to be seen. I don't know that this is really the way that Avely wants to be taking this fight. Actually, it seems to be going decently for him so far, able to pin a couple of those Baltune units against the wood line, and is going to be taking a fairly favorable fight here. I did not expect this to go as well as it has done.
Yeah, Baltune didn't have his full mass here because on the western side of Avely's base, it looked like he had a little bit of a raid, but what Baltune did do very well, although he necessarily didn't win the battle, that might set him up to win the war a little easier because the only scholar that Avely had was taken down by the Sipahi. So what happened? Avely has to send 6 villagers over to that gold vein on the eastern side to try to get a scholar, because without no scholar, you have no sacred sites.
And no healing, and really slow, research. So yeah, all across the board, not feeling great about the fact that he lost that scholar so early. Is going to be able to get one into production soon, but they cost, again, because he did not go for the Dome of the Faith, they're full price scholars, not going to be able to get one out just yet. And that hurts just a little bit. He has moved his villagers forward, going to be starting to take this deer. And it does look like he has enough military production that he will, for the time being, be able to hold on to the map control. Those villagers, I don't think, are going to be under threat just yet, because Baltune doesn't feel comfortable enough to begin raiding. First Vizier point going to be coming in. We just heard that wonderful sound effect there. What is going to be picked up?
What it looked like to me, usually the typical against Delhi You go for the meta first, and that's what the first Vizier point is. Second one, adding another military school, and the third one is getting added by Baltune. And then usually with that third one, you make them produce a little bit faster, just to try to combat with that efficient production. But Baltune's still going with only Sipahi and only archers. I haven't seen any barracks come out for him, and not a lot of spearmen on the side of Avely as well. I think he just started to produce some spearmen and doesn't even have the second upgrade yet, so we'll be adding that as well. But does have enough for a scholar. First scholar is in the middle part of the map, right next to those deer villagers with an outpost. Avely trying to get some walls added, might take that middle sacred site, but at the same time, huge horseman raid in the middle of Baltune's base. No kills, but a lot of idle time produced by Avely and those horsemen, so.
Yeah, that didn't end up resulting in any kills just yet, but it did force some APM, resulted in some idle time. Unfortunate that no kills came through for Avely just yet, but I feel like so far he is faring better than Ice Age did in the previous matchup between Delhi Sultanate and Ottomans. He doesn't feel like he is in control of the game, but he doesn't feel nearly as far as behind or under threat. Part of that, I think, is just a little bit better of a build order. Also, I like the way that he's walled up these sacred sites with his military units. A big bonus for the Delhi Sultanate that sometimes people forget about is that you can use your military units to build walls. That's going to mean that sacred site in the south is going to get capped, and there's not anything Baltune can do about it in the short term. I mean, he'll try and burn his way through this wall, but there's enough Avely units nearby that he will be able to keep that under green control for the time being.
And it's just that little bit of extra time, right? This sacred site finally gets captured over here on the south side. In the middle sacred site, trying to get that captured, but a lot of Baltune Sipahi are there, so they're not able to get that one fully captured. But for how long it's taking for these 3 Sipahi just to burn this wall, it might take maybe a minute. It might take maybe another minute to actually decap the sacred site. So Avely gets, just because of that little bit of wood to get for those palisade walls, probably nets him another 200 gold.
It's really interesting. Avely choosing not to put any villagers on gold, even still. He got that one scholar out, right, after he lost one, and then immediately took everybody off of gold once again. So he is not interested at all in gaining gold kind of the old-fashioned way. If it doesn't come from a sacred site, he doesn't want it. And that signals to me an intent to play this out in feudal for quite some time, because you would put more onto gold if you were really wanting to kind of move anywhere, go forward into tech or feudal age. Ooh, that meter very low, going to be picked off now. All of a sudden, all that glow is gone. All your units feel a little bit weaker, and Baltune going to be forced to back up because he doesn't want to fight that without his meter, especially underneath this outpost. A bunch of villagers inside going to be providing a little bit more damage. I'd love to see those arrow slits come in, obviously costing stone, but I feel like you could afford to just put a couple vills onto stone in order to make these outposts a little bit more strong in your favor as the Delhi.
And, you know, it could be a little bit of arrow slits just to provide that extra attack. Could be fortified also, just because Baltune, he would have to get siege engineering, make rams, all that kind of stuff, because the fortified outpost having a little bit of that burn armor, that fire armor, I should say, for those guys could be a lot of added benefit. But now that Baltune has the meter, he does have the military prowess as well, as the military count 58 to 47 in favor of him. Does have quite the archer mass, not so much into spearmen. They're going to go for it. The meter actually going for ranged armor defense instead of attack speed, so he ends up getting that change. We're going to see how these archers do. They do have the ranged damage boost. The Sipahi doing a good job holding that front line against a lot of these horsemen. The archers in the back from Avely going to be able to pick these guys off one by one. Meter being accurately in the back. And this looks to be actually a pretty good win for the Delhi Sultanate, and I think the catalyst for that being the outpost.
Yeah, the outpost really helped, and I think just, you know, very well controlled in terms of the micro, trying to make sure that all of those Sipahi got cleaned up. Avely's okay to take this fight once the Sipahi are gone. He just can't. You'll see, as soon as 2 Sipahi show up, he's backing up. He's done. But once he had able to clean up most of those Sipahi thanks to his horsemen, he feels okay taking a 1v1 fight, especially you feel okay taking down that meta. That's the second meta that has gone down in as many minutes for Baltune, and Avely feels real good about that. He's going to be able to take pretty much all of these deer without his villagers going down because of it. Idle time caused, yes, but villagers going down, no. And you feel pretty good about that as the Delhi Sultanate. He is looking much more solid than Delhi Sultanates of games past. He's going to be able to get the second sacred site potentially capped. No, the Sipahi will kill the archer, which means that the scholar will not be able to live through. But maybe in a minute or two here, he will be able to rotate somebody over there to make sure that that comes back underneath his control. But Avely he feels more in control than he has in, or than Delhi Sultanate in players in games past. But once again, I'm going to bring this up over and over again. Nobody actually on gold, which is so strange to me, just to not have a single villager on gold.
Yeah, I mean, usually the typical trajectory for an Ottoman player, especially against Delhi, is the first fight you end up winning, and then you throw some on gold, and then you end up going to Castle Age as a result. But both of these players just willing to continue to fight it out in feudal with their respective archer masses. The meta, again, going for actually attack speed instead of ranged defense and gets sniped down almost immediately. There are not many Sipahi that are going to help Baltune here. It looks like he made pretty much archers. Another meta coming into the back, banging his bongos, making sure that these archers have a little bit of ranged defense now with the +2 armor instead of the usual +1 that they get. So we'll help them out a little bit against these Delhi archers. So we're going to see if the attack speed or the ranged armor upgrade is going to be more beneficial. But Avely continuing to hold his own, and these couple spearmen just being fodder for these archers to come down. Military has been pretty much 40-40 and staying steady through a couple minutes now.
And this is great for the Delhi Sultanate. They are okay just holding here because they have the two sacred sites ticking in their favor. The Ottomans are going to have to mine their gold the old-fashioned way. So Avely feels really good about this. He doesn't need to win. He just needs to continue to let those sacred sites of his tick up and get him lots of gold, which is what he's doing. He's now floating enough gold that he could make it up to Castle Age. He'd have to idle his food eco for a while to get up there. But he's feeling relatively good about the way this is going so far. He's just got to make sure that he continues enough production that he doesn't lose out on this main fight here in the middle of the map. Got a scholar in the area providing some healing. That feels good. Got this outpost providing some support as well with those villagers inside it. Still no fortifications of any kind. Gotta have some stone in the bank in order to do that. But like we said, he doesn't need to win. He just needs to hold on. And so far, he's doing a great job with that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he keeps fighting under that outpost, it's going to be a big deal for him. The deer just providing the only food that he essentially has here. It looks like he went all the way to the north now with this mill, creating a berry bush there. So it's not the only food he has, and that will be able to help him out to continue to get some extra. And he is going on that deer patch all the way to the south with about 7 villagers there accurately. But we're continuing just to fire arrows at each other until proven otherwise. Nobody really going up to castle. Everybody kind of hanging out in a feudal now. Baltune, I think, really needs to up that Sipahi production in order to really take this fight. Does have a spearman raid over here that the villagers got quite pissed about, and will be able to take those spearmen down. And now Baltune going for a ram, knowing that that outpost is the bane of his existence, and maybe will soak up some fire on the other side in the meantime. But with only 2 Sipahi in this fight, I would think with them, and you use the meta to get that ranged damage, or that ranged armor upgrade, they would be so tanky. Just having about 10 of them might be able to skew this fight.
No, Avely's force actually looks better here. Sipahi do beat horsemen, but if you don't have any of them in the area, then this looks fantastic so far for Avely. He's got the better massive cavalry, which means the Ottomans can't really commit to a ranged fight. You don't want to stand there trading with the enemy archers while there are horsemen taking down your archers in return. So as long as you kind of have, we talk about air superiority, we talk about siege superiority, Avely right now has cavalry superiority, and as long as he continues to hold that, Baltune can't really take this fight, and that's great. I mean, if you're an Avely fan.
Yeah, it's so frustrating for Baltune because he probably feels like at the 19-minute mark, as Ottomans, he probably should have won this game already. You know, doing the military school, being able to produce. Actually, with one of his vizier points, added Janissaries. So we're seeing some feudal age Janissaries come out, I mean, obviously these archers will be able to pick them off, but maybe produce some added firepower against some horsemen instead. So now that this ram actually makes contact with that outside outpost, let's see if taking that down really creates that much of an impact for him. Janissaries getting absolutely shredded. The horsemen have to back up, but now without any Janissaries, we'll be able to take up and absorb some of that fire. Outpost going down. What a flank on the east side. I almost missed it. Only 1 or 2 Janissaries are left in this fight, but that flank was absolutely brilliant. So many archers went down. Military count now 55 to 41, and I would say the army value for Avely, as you see, a 5.2k to 3.9k, a huge difference. Those meteors are going to end up going down. He has enough horsemen to actually create some kind of barrier for his archer mass, and Baltune has to back up again.
And that battering ram that he spent as a bunch of wood on also going to go down. He lost the outpost, but Avely doesn't care. The deer are pretty much gone. There's 1 deer left here. He doesn't plan on gathering from here anytime soon, so that outpost wasn't doing a whole lot for him in the short term anyway. This is not a great way to take this fight. Avely has about half of his troops shooting the gate, the other half shooting the archers. You should back up just a little here. There you go. That's looking a little bit better. But yeah, that was a fantastic fight for Avely. The flank was killer, and I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the Janissary choice for the Vizier point there. You got 6 of them, and they evaporated immediately. And that's not one of those Vizier points where you get some sort of long-term benefit on top of the short-term. Like, that's it. That's all you got. You spent one of your 5 Vizier points, the only ones you're going to get in the game, and you got about a minute's worth of use out of it. That doesn't feel worth to me.
Yeah, and I think a little bit for Baltune in the feudal age as Ottomans, I don't think he knew what else to pick. So he went for something that's going to help him out. And usually that Janissary button is more of a panic button for a Vizier point. If you're getting raided, you can pop out a few Janissaries that are going to help you out. But now with the ranged mass that Avely has, 42, and continuing to add more, even though there are some extra ranged armor from that meter finally going down. Archer count now for Baltune almost half for him, and now Avely has the potential. He has Baltune backed up all the way back in his base. He's going to be able to go Castle Age as a result, because those sacred sites still pumping that gold, going with the House of Learning before Baltune is anywhere near Castle Age.
I love this. I love this play for Avely, and I need a second to talk about why, but we're going to have to talk about this fight because it's still going on as they trade back and forth. This gate's going to burn down any second now. That will mean that the forces of Avely can push up just a little bit farther should they choose to. They won't have to fight in this choke point, which feels a lot better, and now there are horsemen on top of the archers of Baltune. Going to start losing them, and this fight is going to continue to go the way of Avely. He can stand here, take these trades, and then begin to idle the food eco, kill these villagers if he wants to. He can't stay here forever because eventually Defender's Advantage will kick in, and Avely will eventually start to lose out on this fight, but he can do some serious damage to the military forces of Baltune, including killing more and more metas. Those are so expensive, and they just keep dropping like flies. Another one going to be going down, and now Avely reaches the Castle Age any second now. Veteran archers, no! The GG going to get called as soon as Baltune sees that his opponent is in Castle Age. He knows there is no hope, and I'm not even going to get a second to talk about why I loved the House of Learning pick there, but that's okay. That was a heck of a game. I love the way Avely played the Delhi Sultan in that. Just so night and day different from the way we saw the previous game go. Delhi Sultan able to kind of hang on, get to the peak of their power spike, and just make the game their own. Very well played from Avely. Gonna be taking that game 3. Yes, we did miss game 1 and 2. That was a game 3. Don't be fooled. But yeah, he does take that game 3, which means he will be the one moving ahead to the finals.
And, I think, Baltune did the right things in terms of military. He had all of his infrastructure. He was able to pump out, a decent amount of archers to the point where there was a time we could see about the 12 or 13 minute mark where he had more, and he was able to keep them defended with the meta with the ranged armor increase. But, I mean, honestly, I think it was just a glaring lack of Sipahi in that battle. I mean, he was able to continuously pump out archers, only using the military, what it looked like anyway, only using the military schools for Sipahi. I'm not sure if he had stables pumping out Sipahi or otherwise, but just having, those 1 or 2 Sipahi as they get thrown into the battle, it wasn't that useful for him.
We want to thank our MetaPlace website subscribers. Your contribution helps us keep the project sustainable. As we reach higher subscription goals, you are helping us cover more and more behind-the-scenes costs, such as video editing. Check out our subscription page using the link in the description, and remember to collect your perks. We will see you the next time.